Welcome to Influence Matters. I'm your host, Clara Rose. Each week, I talk about matters of influence and crafting your message for the world. Sometimes I have a special guest who's doing something interesting that I think you might be interested in, but either way, if you are building a business, ministry, cause, or brand, you are in the right place, my friend. So today I don't have a guest, which is unusual these days. It seems like I'm having guests more and more, which I love, but I also love the opportunity to just spend some time educating you a little bit. You likely are here because you are writing a book, or you're trying to write a book, or you're thinking about writing a book. Whatever your reasoning is, or maybe you just saw that this was going to be about publishing and you thought, this is for me. So, whatever your reason for being here, I'm sure that it's around that topic in some way. So, let's dive right into today's topic, which is 5 common mistakes when you're writing and publishing a book. I usually find this with people who are self publishing or people who are trying to write a book, and they're going to, at some point, once the manuscript is done, going to be looking for a literary agent to represent them, or trying to do the nearly impossible, which is going directly to a publishing house. Most large publishing houses don't pick up authors who are not represented. So they end up, for a variety of reasons, doing the self publishing route, which can be confusing, complicated, and done wrong. Or at least done in a way that isn't author centric, which of course is always my goal, is that you are a savvy author, that you publish in a way that is author centric, and certainly something that we at Rosedale Publishing attempt to do with you. Okay, let's dive into the 5 common mistakes when writing your book. First of all, let me just run through them really quickly for you. So they have no analysis, they have no schedule, they have no brainstorm, they have no blueprint, they have no accountability. Let's have a look at that slide. So if you are one of those people that is going to do a snapshot, try to capture it on your phone, or you want to jot those down really quickly, let's have a look at that slide really quickly. Analysis, schedule, brainstorm, blueprint, and accountability. And those are going to be the topics that we talk about today. So let's start with the analysis. So this is a huge mistake that people make, not having an analysis. So what do I mean by that? I'm talking about taking the time to understand why you're writing your book, and then clarifying your very own unique value proposition. So this is not fluff stuff. This is not fluff stuff. This is stuff that's important. You need to know why you're writing this book. And when I start with a new author, I always go through the brainstorm and blueprint process. And the very beginning stages, we're talking about, what does this book, this tool, do for you? Why are you creating this tool? Now, if you followed me for any length of time, you're likely aware that I don't do fiction. It's all nonfiction, and I work specifically with people who are looking to create a tool, a book as a tool that they use in their business, ministry, cause, or brand. So, question one: what is it that I'm going to do with this tool? And this is part of the analysis. You're also going to want to spend some time online doing the old Google search, or the Bing search, or whatever your favorite search tool is. Look for what other people have had to say in the same topic area. If you are a chiropractor, go look and see what other chiropractors have written. If you're a massage therapist, if you're whatever your particular business, ministry, cause, or brand is about, go look and see what else has been written. Now, it's not to say that you can't write about a similar topic, because you're going to come at that topic with a different perspective, with a different background, with different ideas, and of course, your own unique voice, the things that they believe about your topic and the things you have to say about the topic. And of course, you're going to say them in a way that's authentic to who you are. That, of course, is the goal. I'm not sending you out into the search world to scare you off from writing your book about that topic. I just want you to be fully aware of what is already out there, what's already been said, because that's what I mean by your unique value proposition. I want to know what it is that, or your readers going to want to know what it is that you have to say that is different or unique. You're not just saying the same thing that everyone else out there is saying. It's hard enough to stand out, honestly, uh, in the book world. Hundreds, if not thousands, of books are published every single day. Many of them are self published. So you're competing in a very, very large audience of people. It's noise, actually. It's almost a visual noise when you're on. Just hop on over to Amazon and have a look at all of the books. There's just thousands and thousands and thousands. So, how is it that you're going to stand out? Understanding why you're writing it and how yours is going to be different is a really important part of project analysis. Find out those things before you write a single word. Now, if you've already written your book, okay, or you're partway through your book, still take the time to stop and do an analysis. See how you stack up against what else is already out there. I think this is an important part of having a book that's going to do well, something that's not just going to have crickets, right? Put it out to the world. Just because you put it out there doesn't necessarily mean they're going to knock your door down buying your book. Okay, number one, that's super important. Let's move on to the next slide. They have no schedule. This is a big mistake that I see. Clearly define the start and finish dates of your project. Now, that's not to say that you're going to absolutely meet that deadline, but if you have no deadline at all, I promise you, you're going to work on it forever, work on it for years. I do have people who have literally called me and said, Clara, I've been working on my book for 10 years. I kid you not. Some people have been working on their book for that long. They didn't, probably more than just this part of the five common mistakes, but not having a schedule is definitely part of it. When you know that you have 6 months or a year or whatever timeline you've set for yourself, when you've defined that, then you can look at it and measure, monitor, and adjust, right? If you say, I'm going to have this book written in 12 months, 1 month in, you should be a 12th of the way done, right? It gives you sort of just some parameters to work around. So I highly encourage it. If you think it's going to take you 18 months, go to your calendar 18 months from now and say, this is my launch date. And then be aware of milestones along the way that you need to hit in order to make that happen. When you define parameters, you can monitor your progress. You need a strategic plan around the book launch, and that is only going to happen if you set some parameters for yourself. Okay, let's move on to the next slide, if you will. This is project brainstorming. So here's where people really go off the rails. If you've not done any analysis and you've not done a schedule, this is where you really are going to go off the rails. No brainstorm. This is where you're going to get all of those ideas out of your head, right? You may have a bunch of sticky notes. You may have notebooks and notebooks full of ideas for your book, or maybe you're a computer person and you have, just tons of notes somewhere on your computer of what's going to go into your book. Or even worse, you just said, I'm going to write a book, and you sat down, opened up a Word document, and you just started writing. You haven't even set yourself up for a successful book when you start this way. Now, I have had people come to me over the years and have a book in hand that they have written, but and it not be completely a hot mess. But I'm here to tell you that most of the time, if somebody has not taken the time to do a good brainstorm and the blueprint, which we'll talk about next, their likelihood of a successful book just diminishes so much. The brainstorming is really that process of saying, here is all of the things that I think need to go into this book. Remember, we're creating a tool, right? We already said we're going to create a tool that we're going to use in our business, ministry, cause, or brand. It might be that we're trying to get new leads, organically generate leads. It might be that we want a tool that we can use in our business or ministry to help our clients achieve some goal. Whatever the reasoning behind it, we're creating a tool. And the only way that we can know that we're creating a good tool, a useful tool, an effective tool, is if we spend the time in the brainstorming process, getting all of those ideas out of our head and onto paper where we can actually do something with them. Now, you'll see that I have a picture of sticky notes. I'm a huge sticky note planner. For me, that works well. Often, when I get together one on one with a client and we do their brainstorming blueprint, we're using like a big old whiteboard or poster board on the wall or whatever as sticky notes. They're easy to move around. If you mess up one, you change your mind about one, you crumple it up and throw it away, right? And get a new sticky note. It's just a really easy way to get stuff out of your head to do a brain dump. Much harder to keep track of things if you're brain dumping into, say, a tablet or if you're writing them by hand. Now you have pages of notes to go through. So I highly recommend the sticky notes. I've also seen little note cards done effectively. Things that you can move around work best. The next step is we're going to decide how they fit together. That's where we're going to talk about the actual blueprint. So we've brainstormed all of these great ideas, all these things that are going to go into our book, all these nuggets, if you will. And next, we're going to decide how they all fit together. And I call that the blueprint. So if we move on to the next slide. So the project blueprint, this is where we create a cohesive message, right? We've gotten all of these pieces that we pulled out of our head, right? All of the stories and the anecdotes and all the pieces that are going to go into this tool we're creating. Now we need to put them in an order that it actually makes sense for the reader. Remember, this is your content. These are your ideas, and of course they make sense to you. And even if they've come out of you in the wrong order, we need to figure they still make sense to you, right? But we need to figure out how it's going to make sense to your reader, your client, or your potential client. So here's where we start pulling things apart. And here's where the sticky notes really come in handy. We start to put them into an order that makes sense in the book. So perhaps in the order of a theme, or perhaps in the order of the chapters. Ultimately, when we're done with the blueprint, we're going to have the outline that is your table of contents. Right? This is how we create the structure for your book. And this is where we look at each of the stories, each of the topics, each of the pieces that we pulled out of your brain, right? We're going to look at all of those pieces and say, okay, what order does this need to be presented to the reader? And we move them around until they make sense. This is also where we dig deeper and say, okay, we've said that chapter 1, at the beginning of the journey for our client, is about this topic. Okay, what other things need to go with that? What stories, what anecdotes, if you're doing something faith-based, maybe it's a scripture verse, maybe it's a quote that you love. What are all the things that go with chapter 1? This is your opportunity to capture all of that in some sort of an outline, a written outline. Now, why does that make a lick of difference, you might ask? Well, the brainstorm and blueprint piece are actually foundational to having a cohesive message. It's foundational to having a book that people will pick up and start reading, and it will actually pulls them through the process. It's it's foundational for successful manuscript. If you don't have this, what will happen, what I almost can guarantee you will happen is you will meander, right? Because it still makes sense in your brain. You'll meander from one topic to another. But the reader doesn't have all the background and all the pieces, and so you'll lose them. And they'll set the book down and they'll walk away from it. So your message is they may have purchased the book, and yay, we do want them to do that, but that's not the end result here, right? We're not creating this book for their enjoyment or for their entertainment value, right? We're creating this book because we want it to be a tool. We want it to make sense to the reader. We want it to be captivating for the reader. We want them to hear your voice actually in it. And all of this is very intentional. It doesn't just happen by accident, it all happens very intentionally. And then, of course, don't forget that you want to deliver on your promise. If you've said, if your book is about the 5 most common mistakes when writing and publishing your book, if that's what your book was about, so you better cover in your book the 5 common mistakes that people make, right? Doesn't that make sense? The same thing is true with your manuscript. Whatever you've said, this is what it's about. You need to deliver on that promise in your content. The brainstorm and blueprint part is just so important to making sure that you have all of the things in there that you've promised that you're going to give them. Now, if this sounds super complicated or over your head, or you feel overwhelmed already, there is no need to do this alone. You do not have to muddle through these waters on your own. There are plenty of people out there, including our company, who will help you through this process. I have multiple resources over at craftingyourmessage.com where you can get some help with this process. Or you could hop onto my social media. You can find me at Savvy Clara Rose. You can find me on Facebook, and you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn. Of course, you can follow me here each week. I talk every week either about writing, publishing, or of course, sometimes we do have guests who are talking about what they're doing in the world. And some of them have written books and they talk about their books. Wherever you need to find the help to get through this process, you don't have to do it alone. If you get stuck, we're always here to help you with the process. In fact, the Brainstorm and Blueprint is part of the mentoring, Savvy Author Mentoring Program I'm going to talk about before I go today. And then, of course, the app is another great place, which we will also talk about. All right, let's get on to our very last of the 5 common mistakes, and that is no accountability. Project accountability. Accountability really does matter. You need somebody to hold your feet to the fire because it's very easy to make excuses for yourself, right? It's very easy to say, oh, I just didn't have time today. I'll get to it tomorrow. That actually goes back to the scheduling. If you have it on your schedule, it's easier to make yourself be accountable. But I promise you that it is way more successful when you are doing it with somebody else. Somebody to hold your feet to the fire. That could be a spouse, that could be a business partner, that could be another writer. And of course, having a coach or somebody to help you along the way is built in accountability. I highly recommend it. If you have never written a book before, this is especially important. I find that first time authors struggle the most with this. I think because they become overwhelmed. If you didn't do the brainstorm and blueprint, if you didn't schedule yourself a time frame to work within, you are likely going to be one of those people who are working on it for 5 years or 10 years, or you start working on it and then you set it aside, which is a sad thing to happen to your dream of being a published author. I promise you, finding somebody to hold you accountable can make all the difference in the world. Now, we do have a writers group you can find if you download the Savvy Author app. You can find the Savvy Author app, which just launched recently in the App Store on your favorite device. The Savvy Author app has our little Savvy Author Inkwell. You'll recognize us right away. Download it, and it is where some of my best free stuff lives. And in there, we have a brand new community group that's being formed of writers who are looking for accountability. Now, this is a free writers group, free to join, free to participate in, and you will get out of it what you put into it. Just like any other group, if you show up, participate, ask questions, and add value, it will be a part of a great accountability program for you. Now, not everybody is great at doing this for themselves, right? And we're all busy people, right? We're all professionals or entrepreneurs or whatever it is you do in life. So I'm not judging that. I'm just saying it's very common for the distractions of life to pull at us. And that's okay. That's why we created the Savvy Author Mentorship. So let's hop on over to the slide and have a look and see what comes with the Savvy Author Mentorship. So it's really the first of its kind to follow a blueprint, if you will. We do the brainstorm and blueprint together. It which I've said a couple times is foundational to getting your book out of your head and onto paper. But then the next step, which is the creation process, getting your rear end in the seat to get the work done, because accountability is baked right into the program. We show up every week on an accountability call for everyone to say, here's where I am, and here's what I intend to get done before the next time we meet. Now, this is a paid program, and you can learn more about it by hopping over to craftingyourmessage.com. Very hands on, done as a group process. Now, that might be the perfect thing for you, or you could say, Clara, I am totally not interested in doing this in a group setting. We also have an option for you if you'd like to have a hop on over to craftingyourmessage.com. You'll see that we offer ghostwriting services. If you say, Clara, I have this great book that I need to write for my business, ministry, cause, or brand, but I do not have either the time or the inclination or the technical ability, perhaps you might feel that way, we offer that ghostwriting service for you as well. We're going to do the brainstorm and blueprint together first, just like anybody else. And then instead of you doing the heavy lifting of the writing, I'm going to do the writing for you. And then together we'll work through the process of pulling all of the stuff that was in your head into a book that you could use for your business, ministry, cause, or brand as a tool. If you feel like you like to be more involved and you want to be the writer, the actual writer of your book, we have co-writing, which we still do the brainstorm and blueprint together, but you are going to actually do the writing and then we will do the developmental editing. That just says I'm going to go through, or one of my staff is going to go through and make sure that it is clean and tight. So we're going to look at the outline and see if you stuck to your outline. We're also going to look for grammar, spelling, structure, punctuation, all those pieces that are really important when you are putting a book out into the world. And then, of course, at the very end, we're going to format it so that it looks like it ought to look. And you can publish with Rosedale Publishing if you so choose. We can help you to self-publish if that's your preference, or we can help you find an agent or publishing house to pick you up if traditional publishing is your desire. So there you have it, the 3 ways that you can get your book out to the world. No matter which route you go, we're going to be there to help you, hold your hand, and make you be accountable to what it is that you said you wanted to accomplish. Whether you need a ghostwriter to do the heavy lifting for you, or perhaps co-writing is more your speed, where you're doing a bulk of the heavy lifting, or maybe you are more of a collaborative person and the mentorship would fit for your project better, or you better fit for your project. Let's say it that way. Whatever your needs are, getting your book out to the world, we have something for you. Wherever you are in your journey, I just want to encourage you. If you have started writing your book and you want some assistance, we're here for you. If you have not yet started writing your book, but you know you want to write a book, we're here for you, wherever you are in the process. Okay, so I hope that, let me just really quickly run over them so you don't forget them. No project analysis, no project schedule, no brainstorm, no blueprint, and no accountability probably means no book. Those are the top 5 common mistakes I see when people are writing, trying to write their book. Now, you may have noticed that I've a couple times said writing and publishing. So, publishing is a different beast entirely. And there are lots of mistakes that people make when they do publish. So here's just a couple that I'm just going to give you that are freebies that didn't wrap into my top 5 common mistakes, but are super important. When you're looking for a publisher, if you're looking for a publishing house, you need to look for publishing houses that take direct submissions only, unless you have an agent, direct submission only. That's somebody who will take you without an agent. If you are looking for a literary agent, start by looking for literary agents who cover the genre that you're trying to publish in. Not all agents cover every genre. If they are a children's book, they're probably not going to pick up your book. If they only do fiction, they're not going to be interested in your project. If you're doing fiction or children's books, you may be able to get away with just doing a query letter to them saying, hey, I have this idea and I'd like to write this book. But if you're doing nonfiction, they want a completed, clean, ready to go manuscript before they will consider taking you on. So you need to get the other pieces done, get the work done before you send them query letters. Then self-publishing. The number one mistake that I see in self-publishing is people take the free ISBN and barcode that's offered to them by the publisher, by the self-publisher. So KDP or any of the others out there, they're going to offer you a free ISBN and barcode. If you take the free ISBN barcode, it is registered to them and they alone own the rights to publish your book. Yes, you have authorship ownership. It's your content. You just can't take it anywhere else because you don't own the ISBN that is attached to it for life. So that's the number one mistake that I see. And I get that phone call all the time. Oh, I published, self-published, took the free ISBN. Now I need to make changes or I want to go elsewhere. And you can't because you self-published and they own the right to publish. Some changes can be made, of course. I am totally out of time, but thank you for showing up every week to see what I have to say about the publishing world. I'll see you same time, same place next week.